Well, hello there, all my miniatures loving friends on the interwebs. I'm Doc Eon. It's a Monday, and I'm here to ramble. It's, in fact, Monday the 12th of June 2023. I'm all about this single mini. It's been another week where I sort of flaked out on painting, but not really. I mean, I only finished this one model, but it's a big and complex model. Well, sort of complex. It has a lot of parts and a lot of color, and it's very chaotic, as a demon should be. It is chaotic evil, in fact, from the abyss. And yeah, it's a lot of it's kind of experimental in how it's painted. I think it turned out okay. I could put some more highlights on the suction cups here, but I kind of like the idea that they're dark, that they're not, the thing with letting them stay relatively dark is that they are not a focal point. And I don't think this model needs it, because it has enough focal points already. It has enough things to look at. So, yeah. But the good thing about finishing this model now is that of the stuff that's on my desk currently to be painted, nothing is this big or complex. So hopefully by next week I have cranked out some more finished models than this week. So let's move to the desk and see what I'm still. The stuff in the works is, of course, mainly all these Heresy sci-fi minis, which you can see now have been primed, and I've finished up. So this is the model that I have problems with the right shoulder, and if you look too closely at it now, you might see that his right arm is too long and kind of weirdly shaped in the shoulder region. But at just a glance at a distance, you probably wouldn't think about it. I think I've covered it up pretty well. And yeah. And all the others were, yeah, no problem. I just have to, the thing when I have this many models to paint at once, I get this sort of angst about where do I start. And I simply have to make some decisions. I have to pick a few. Like I've started working on these 4 and a little bit on these 3. And so I've singled those out and said, yeah, I'm going to finish these first. Because I can't work on all of them at once, because then nothing will get done. It'll go too slowly. I have to focus on a few at a time and work my way through it. So that's the plan. Is there anything else I've been working on? Well, kind of. Let's take a look. Somewhat less far along, but in the works, we have all these Reaper robotic beings. Now I've simply taken them out of the blisters, removed any flashing and mold lines, and washed them, cleaned them, and then I prepared bases for them. They all came with these 30mm lipped bases, because a lot of them were from the Chronoscope. These guys with the separate heads and hand pieces were from the Chronoscope line. What was I going to say? Yeah, I'm not going to use those. So I prepped these, and these are stamped in milliput using this rolling pin, the Far Galaxy. As you can tell by the typeface, it's supposed to be kind of Star Wars themed, and it's produced patterns that, well, you can tell in some of them they have writing in that sort of Star Wars alphabet in Arabic. Otherwise, they just look kind of like some sort of pattern, a bit more interesting than just blank bases or dirt. And this one, of course, looks like Maria from Metropolis. This is kind of a male version of that. Or not Maria, but the Maria robot that replaces Maria, if you remember that movie. Anyway, I'll assemble these and prime them by next week, certainly. So that's a lot. 10 more minis to add to the queue. So that's a lot. Now, a little special thing here, because one of my subscribers asked about the airbrush setup. So I got this little airbrush booth. This is a no-name, just generic thing I got off Amazon, really cheaply. It does the job. It has a suction. If I turn it on with the lamp, you'll hear it. It's really loud. Yeah. It sucks air and out through this hose, and I place it near the window here. So I open the window a crack and I put this little nozzle thing out there. So I have nothing outside my window that it can spill on. There's a, as you can see, something below there. So, but there's not going to be any paint coming out there anyway, because there is a filter under here. This is the sensitive part, because the filter clogs up after a while. And let me show you. This here is the original filter that came with it. I have washed it a couple of times to get paint out, but it's reached the point where I can't get all the paint out. It's just not possible anymore. So I'm putting this to retirement. Instead, what I use is really cheap filters that I bought, which it comes, and this is probably not the best thing to do, but it comes in these huge sheets, and you cut them up in smaller pieces, and it's really thin. This clogs up after like 2 or 3 sessions of painting, and you have to throw it away and put in a new filter. But because this is cheap and plentiful, I mean, I do it anyway, because I haven't come up with a better solution yet. If I can find a better way of filtering, I will. I'll let you know. Anyway, the rest of the setup is pretty simple. I have a basic, I got the starter kit from Iwata, which was one of their entry-level airbrushes. This is all the Revolution CR, and the Solarjet compressor, which is a small table compressor. It doesn't put out very high pressure, but it's been enough so far. We have some cleaning fluids here, and the Revolution CR is, it doesn't let you do fine detailed painting, but it's a good workhorse brush for just varnishing and priming and even base coating. It's perfectly fine. By base coating, I mean if you want to coat the entire model one color, because as I said, not very precise. But it does the job. Even though I've had it for several years now, and it's kind of showing its age. Currently it's spraying a little bit too much down, but you know, as long as you look, you test spray with some water to see where the spray goes, and then you know, and you adjust your angle accordingly. Whenever I don't know if this ever will break down completely. If it does, I'll probably get a slightly more expensive and better model, probably from Iwata as well, because I trust Iwata at this point. I had actually a slightly more expensive airbrush from a company I shall not name that I got through a Kickstarter, and it was supposed to be more fancy, and it stopped working like after a few weeks. I don't know what happened with it. It's like it clogged up, and I cannot get it clean no matter what solvents I use. It still refuses to push any fluids through it. So I haven't thrown it away. It's lying somewhere in a drawer, but I'm very disappointed. We'll never buy anything from that manufacturer again. I also tried a really super cheap airbrush that was like 20-30 euros from, I believe it was Green Stuff World. That definitely broke down after a very short amount of time. Do not waste your money on that shit. Get an Iwata or the equivalent. If you're in the US, I think a lot of people swear by Badger. Iwatas are easier to get here in Europe, but you know, either of those will probably work well. Anyway, enough interlude about one more thing I should add. Whenever I spray, I always wear one of these masks to filter out any particles that might blow back at me. I have glasses. I have these are actually reading glasses so that I can see what I'm doing as well, but they also serve to protect me. And you see, there hasn't been much blowback because they're not dirty. There's no particular particles on them. And then of course I wear a glove on my left hand, one of these things, because that will get paint on it. The right hand, because I'm right-handed, is operating the airbrush, so there's not going to be any paint on that. But yeah, that's my setup. For inventory this week, since I'm painting a lot of Heresy miniatures at the moment, why not inventory some more Heresy? This box contains a grand total of 37 minis. It has a sci-fi theme. This big bag contains a lot of the sort of post-apocalyptic gang members. There's a lot of bases and extra weapons. This is some sort of, I think it's a starship crew, or maybe it's guards or something. This is more of the gang. This is random PCs. And this is even more of the gang. So I painted a couple of figures a long time ago, actually, of this post-apocalyptic gang, where they're all bald and they have long trench coats and various weapons, and yeah. So new projects, I don't think I need any because I have so much on my plate. Maybe some of these guys. The various starship sort of, these look like PCs or NPCs from a starship crew, but I don't know. I have quite a lot in the pipeline, quite a lot in the queue, and I probably don't need to add much to it. So we'll probably hold off on that for a week, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, that is the end of a video. So please give it a like, a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so before. Comment on what you particularly thought was interesting. And above all, be back here next week. Same time of the week, same day of the week, same channel, same Dakian. But for now, I'm signing off.